Good morning, and hello, dear friends of Enlightenment and Love. We just completed our July 2024 Enlightenment Intensive. You know, that's 56 years after Charles Berner gave his very first Enlightenment Intensive on the same weekend in July as we just did. His was in July of 1968. Now, it's only a few days since our Enlightenment Intensive completed, and I hope that this communication finds you in good spirits and that you're continuing to prosper from the gold, those diamonds, and those beautiful pearls that you uncovered about yourself during our time together at the Enlightenment Intensive. This photo that you're seeing now, or video, is from the morning after the retreat ended. Gatesha, Greg, and I continued to do the dyad practice in the form of a triad instead of a dyad because there was 3 of us. We took the photo to say hello and to continue contemplating. And I advise you to do the same. Continue contemplating. This Enlightenment Intensive follow-up letter that I'm recording is not brief. So why not make some popcorn or some breakfast and be prepared for a rather long, informative viewing. In this Enlightenment Intensive follow-up, I wanted to say a few things and to share at least one thing that you can do following the retreat to keep the spiritual momentum moving forward. We want to keep progressing and not let the energy dissipate. So here's a few thoughts, some of which I wrote 23 years ago. I came across a 2001 Enlightenment Intensive follow-up letter, and upon reading it, I found, my goodness, today, my feelings, my sentiments, and my spiritual counsel remain the same 23 years later. So, you know, there's really not much new to say about spiritual development. Buddha said it years ago. Christ, he preached it a couple of thousand years ago. And the Indian yogic scriptures, they've been repeating that time-honored prescription for bringing enlightenment into life. They've been doing it for millennia. There's nothing new there, is there? Well, I'm going to also be posting this letter in a text form on the Enlightenment Intensive Australia Facebook page. If you're not a member, please join and add your comments and tell me your experiences from the intensive or post-intensive in furtherance of clearing your mind and bringing your truth to light, thus stabilizing your truth and enlightenment in daily life. In 2001, this is how I began that follow-up letter. I said, I bow before thee, my sisters and brothers, of eternal happiness, and say how truly your presence makes happiness upon me. I said, thank you for all. Thank you to all of you for revealing yourself to me and to each other, and for inviting me to reveal myself to you. And I say that again. I feel the same way today. So thank you. Thank you for allowing myself to be revealed to you and for you to reveal yourself to myself and others. In that post, I continued. I said it was a treat, just like divine candy, a sumptuous feast of the soul. May all of our meals be so full of nutrition and so light of calories and so full of love. Look, it's not just hyperbole that I'm saying this. It's true. The Enlightenment Intensive is a sumptuous feast, and it is like the sweetness of a divine candy bar for the heart and soul. It is. That's how I feel about it. And I believe the experiences of the Enlightenment Intensive are sacred events. I said this during the retreat. It's not a workshop. It's a worship. It's a worship of the heart and soul, a worship of the self and otherness. And it's a model of divine living, a way to treat each other. And though the Enlightenment Intensive lasts for only a few days, the mind clearing that takes place and the direct experience that you attempt to conceive and sometimes give birth to is what we're attempting, to give birth to the eternal and the absolute. My friend Osha wrote a beautiful poem, and this is one of those poems that she wrote following her enlightenment experience.
I'm not ever going to forget who I am. I'm the sound of the bells and the wind that moves through them. I'm the journey and the destination. I'm the breath and the body that breathes it. I'm the foot and the earth that touches it. I'm the lover and the beloved. I'm the cat crying and the one who comforts it. Ageless, faceless, timeless, nameless, unborn and undying, constant yet ever-changing. I was before the earth began. I will be after it is gone. God willing, I'm not ever going to forget who I am.
The Enlightenment Intensive experience is born of the eternal moment. The mind may try to capture it, in its memory. It may even deny it. It would go, no, 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 no. Could it be? No. It may try to conceal it, cover it over. But it, the Enlightenment experience, the direct conscious knowing, as Charles Berner calls it, is beyond the mind. It's not in or of the mind. It is beyond time and space. Now, this is how you can take the self-reflective enlightenment technique into your practical daily life. You could take it everywhere and anywhere. Well, for example, if you're walking down the street, if you're sitting at the beach, if you're waiting for a bus, if you're eating ice cream at the zoo, just do this. Just intend to directly experience the object of your contemplation and be open. Be open to whatever occurs in your consciousness. Be open. Be open to whatever occurs in your consciousness as a result of keeping that intention. And keep doing what you learned at the retreat. For example, as you walk down the street, whatever you experience as yourself to be in the present moment, intend to experience that directly. Intend to directly experience and be open. Be open to whatever comes into your consciousness. It's not complicated. It's self-reflection. Be mindful. You're walking down the street. Notice yourself walking. Feel your feet. Feel your feet in your shoes. Feel your feet in your shoes walking down the street. Importantly, notice who it is that's feeling that. Who is it that's conscious of that? I didn't say think of who is conscious of that. I said to consciously, directly experience that. To go deeper than intellectualizing, contemplate more. Contemplate more deeply. And just do it. Stop flicking your phone Flick your contemplation. What? Did I hear you say, what is the mind? Well, let me tell you a few things. The mind is the storehouse of incomplete experiences, of incomplete communication. For example, your 5-year-old child is playing ball in the front yard. You're sitting on the front veranda watching. But you took your gaze away, just for a short time, and suddenly your child runs between 2 parked cars and out into the street, chasing after the ball they're playing with. And they run right into the path of an oncoming truck. And you see it. You see it unfolding, but you can't stop it. There's nothing you can do. And you scream, "No!" Well, the mind is the storage mechanism for holding that actual denial of no. No! It's that part of the experience that was too painful, too traumatic to experience, too traumatic to digest at that. So it's held in that place that we call the mind. What it is really is its resistance. In this case, it's the resistance that creates that part of the mind. That denied experience sits there and waits to be received and to be accepted and acknowledged sometime in the future. And it's stored in the body mind, in all the cells of the body. Berner calls the mind a storage container for all the denials of otherness and all the denials that occur in life. It's all the undigested experiences that you have not fully understood about yourself, about life, and about others. And it's understanding that dissolves the mind. That's why the Enlightenment Intensive is so powerful. We create an opportunity for understanding. That is the secret. It's understanding. It accelerates the process of emptying the contents of the mind, thus leaving nothing in the field of consciousness. And when the field of consciousness is empty, all that's left is the potential of you bearing witness to the truth, to the way it is. And this is the goal of meditation and meditators. Hundreds of years ago, the great master of yogi, Patanjali, he wrote the Yoga Sutras. It's a book of short one-line aphorisms on the truth and how to attain the truth. One of his first lines in the aphorisms is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And what does it mean? It means that union or enlightenment is the cessation of the fluctuations in the mind stuff. In other words, emptiness is the optimum condition for you to directly experience what is. Because there's nothing left in the way between you and that which you want to know. You, in the case of tell me who you or what you are. It's not complicated. The mind makes it complicated, but only direct experience of enlightenment shines of its own light. The mind doesn't shine of its own light. It's simply reflected light. Well, here's a poem from my friend and Enlightenment Master, Joseph Rubano. He wrote this at one of my Enlightenment Intensives.
Who is my mother? Who my father? When I am being created friend by friend. I don't remember who I was without you. We have been tending sacred fires for a long time. We are wanderers, drawn by the light of those fires. surrounded by darkness, emerging out of darkness. We enter into the sacred ceremony of each other's life. We sing, we dance, humbled by the power of each other's presence, we pray. We become prayers for each other. We sing praises to each other. And breath by breath, thought by thought, touch by touch, music rises between us. What I was, I am no longer. Shaking with hope, yielding to your hands, I stand trembling before you. Who is my mother? Who my father? When I am being created friend by friend.
Well, dear friends, your popcorn must be nearly finished by now, so I'll bring this heartfelt sharing to a completion with a few words from Charles Berner. It's from the Enlightenment Participant Training Program that I call Enlightenment 101, in the words of Charles Berner. You can find out more about this program on my PayHip platform. Now, here's Charles from a talk that I videotaped, I think in about 1993. It's titled, On the 25th Anniversary of the Enlightenment Intensive.
The reason why I decided to give an Enlightenment Intensive was because of a realization that I had when I was working with people for many years, working in therapeutic situations, growth situations, courses, and one-on-one. And I noticed that some people made good progress, some people made fair progress, but there was a certain category of people that no matter what you did, it didn't make any progress. Do the same technique on them, and they wouldn't get anywhere. They would even answer all the questions, comply to all the instructions, go through all the process, and even then, at the end, they'd say, well, I feel the same. I'm not getting anywhere. And I was baffled by this for a long time. And I had this realization. Now I see why they weren't making any progress. Even though it looked like they were doing the technique, they were responding to the questions, they were following the instructions, they weren't. It's not that answers weren't given. Answers were given. And compliances were taken out, were complied with. But in fact, it was not the individual that did it. It was a personality. So if a personality does a technique, and not the actual individuals whose personality that is, then they don't make any progress. That is to say, they didn't know who or what they were. They weren't living from themselves. They were living from a personality. So when it came to a therapeutic situation, it wasn't them who did it. And so therefore, at the end of it, there was no change. Yes, the personality could change a little bit, But as far as they're concerned, they didn't get anywhere. They didn't make any progress. So I thought, what can be done about this? I would even ask them, did you do that? What did you do to do that? Was it you that made that answer? And they said, well yes, yes. Well, what did you do to do it? Well, I don't know. I don't know. And they didn't know who or what they were. They may have had an intellectual idea. If you asked them, who are you? They'd say, well, I'm Harry James. I'm Tommy Dorsey. They were that name. They were the personality. They were the beingness. But they were conscious of that. But that wasn't them. It was just a personality, a name, a beingness, and not the actual individual. The truth is that there is an actual individual, regardless of name or personality. But they have no sense or experience of that. So, I thought, well, something should be done about this. What can we do? And I kind of kicked around the ideas for 2-3 months. And then one day I was laying down, looking out a window at some pine trees. And just ruminating about what could be done. And then I kind of went blank. And then suddenly it occurred to me. Yes, it could be just like or similar to a Japanese Zen sesshin, in which people intensely work on who are they, but instead of working alone, it would be in the context of a dyad. Now, dyads can be used for many things. For improving relationships, for intellectual reflection, for the discharging of emotional or mental or physical charge. And I thought maybe it could be used also for this deep contemplative process that must be gone through in order to experience what one is sufficiently so that one can not only benefit from therapeutic processes because it is that individual who is doing them, but they can also benefit from living life. So it's them that's doing the living. Instead of going through all the processes of living, and at the end of that time say, I didn't get anything out of life. Because it wasn't them that was doing the living. It was all empty and hollow for them. So what can be done? So this whole concept of how the dyad would fit together into a sesshin or an intense period of time and work on the question, who am I? So I told some people about it, and they gathered together on the 2nd of July, 1968, 25 years ago this year. And there, I think, were 24 people. And in the middle of the second day, somebody came in and said, well, I know who I am. And they told me, and there was no argument about it. In fact, this person had known all along who they were. So I had to really shuffle fast. Here we are halfway, a day and a half has gone by. And what are we going to do? I mean, she knows who she is. What do I do? Send her home? So I asked a few questions. I said, well, tell me about yourself then. And she did a little bit, and I thought, ha, she knows who she is, but she doesn't know what she is. So I said, well, now this is what you're to work on. You're going to work on, tell me what you are. And that's how that happened. And she said, oh yes, and went right back in and started working very diligently on it, as if I had had all these things worked out. Well, I didn't, but it worked very well. Not only she, but others not only directly experienced who they were, but what they were, to a deeper and deeper degree, or a de-identification from things that they thought they were and found out they weren't. Each time that they did that, their power of participation in life, and in the intensive, and in any therapeutic program, is enhanced proportionately.